Level 1. The recruit. You arrive in Vatican City and immediately understand something no tourist ever does. This is not a church. This is a state. Since the Lateran Treaty of 1929, the Vatican has been a fully sovereign nation, with its own laws, its own court system, its own diplomatic passports, and its own bank. It maintains formal diplomatic relations with more countries than the United States does. 183 nations have an ambassador here. That is not a religious figure. That is a geopolitical footprint. On paper, your role is administrative. You process canonical paperwork for dioceses across Eastern Europe. It sounds like filing. It sounds like nothing. Then your supervisor hands you a second phone on your first day. It has no contacts saved in it. He tells you it is never to leave your person. He doesn't explain why. You don't ask. That's your first lesson. The Vatican runs on the assumption that competent people understand what is expected of them without being told directly. You look around the office. Everyone here speaks at least 4 languages. Everyone has a background in political science, international law, or intelligence-adjacent academia. Everyone was quietly recommended by someone with significant influence. You tell yourself, this is normal for an institution of this complexity. You haven't even seen the second basement yet. Level 2. The Observer. 3 months in, you are cleared for your first Secretariat of State briefing. You were expecting theology. You get geopolitics. A senior official stands at the front of a room and summarizes, with calm precision, political instability in 3 separate nations. A government in Southeast Asia quietly accelerating restrictions on the church. A European coalition fracturing along religious demographic lines. None of this is in any newspaper. None of it will be for weeks. Then you understand what you are actually looking at. The Vatican has 1.3 billion Catholics distributed across every nation on earth. There are priests in every village, in every capital, in every military base and parliament building and prison. They hear things. They see things. They report upward through the diocesan structure. Not as spies, they would never use that word, but as concerned members of a global community keeping their institution informed. What you are sitting inside right now is the most sophisticated human intelligence collection network ever built. And it has been operating continuously for over 1,000 years. No agency on Earth has field presence like this. No government has access like this. The CIA has stations. The Vatican has parishes. The Church doesn't gather this information for God. It gathers it for clarity. And clarity, in the right hands, becomes leverage. Every priest is, without knowing it, a field reporter. Level 3. The Courier. You are assigned to the Apostolic Nuncio's support network operating in Eastern Europe. Your route, Budapest to Warsaw, twice a month. Your diplomatic pouch is legally immune to search by any government on Earth. That is not a figure of speech. No customs agent, no border patrol officer, no intelligence service has the legal authority to open what you are carrying. You cross 3 borders. You smile at officials. You are completely untouchable. Inside the pouch, financial transfers for an underground seminary network operating in a country where the government has banned unauthorized religious education, and a sealed message for a bishop whose government has absolutely no idea he maintains direct contact with Rome. During the Cold War, this network ran at full operational capacity. Vatican couriers moved through the Iron Curtain, supporting underground Catholic communities in Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. The Vatican's relationship with the Solidarity movement in Poland is a matter of historical record, a religious institution materially participating in the political transformation of an entire bloc of nations. You think about that as you cross the third border. The cause feels righteous. The people you're helping are being persecuted for their faith. The money you're carrying will educate children whose government wants them ignorant. But you are using sovereign immunity granted by a religious treaty to undermine a foreign government's domestic policy. You are a diplomatic ghost moving assets through a system designed for prayer, not politics. You tell yourself the end justifies the means. The Iron Curtain had one door the KGB could never close, and it had a cross on it. Level 4, the analyst. They bring you inside the archive. The Vatican Apostolic Archive, renamed in 2019, formerly known by a word that translates more accurately as private than secret, though the effect is the same, contains 85 linear kilometers of shelving, 12 centuries of documentation, correspondence with emperors, records of Inquisition proceedings, letters between popes and kings that rewrote the borders of nations. In 2020, the Vatican partially opened the files from Pope Pius XII's pontificate during World War II. Partially. Your assignment is framed as a historical reconciliation project, cross-referencing modern diplomatic files with mid-20th century correspondence, understanding the continuity of relationships between the Holy See and certain European governments across decades. What you are actually doing is mapping institutional leverage, documents from wartime negotiations, records of what certain governments asked the Vatican for and what the Vatican provided in return. Agreements that were never published, silences that were purchased, decisions that shaped post-war Europe, made in rooms like this one by men whose names appear in no official history. The institutional memory in this building is not a historical archive, it is a balance sheet. Information gathered across centuries doesn't expire, it compounds. Every favor documented, every agreement sealed, every secret entrusted to the Church's discretion sits on these shelves, waiting. A letter, written in 1943, is about to become relevant in a way its author never imagined. Level 5. The Financier. You are reassigned to the IOR, the Institute for the Works of Religion, what the world calls the Vatican Bank. Your official title is External Relations Coordinator. Your actual job is to manage the relationships between the IOR and its network of correspondent banks across Europe, the Middle East, and Latin America. The IOR operates under Vatican sovereign immunity. No external financial regulator, not the EU, not the Federal Reserve, not the Bank for International Settlements, has the legal authority to compel disclosure of its accounts or transactions. For most of its modern history, it answered to no one outside the walls of Vatican City. The 1982 collapse of Banco Ambrosiano, in which the Vatican Bank held a significant shareholder position, sent shockwaves through European finance. The bank's chairman, Roberto Calvi, was found dead in London, hanging beneath Blackfriars Bridge. Italian investigators eventually ruled it a homicide. The full story of what connected his death to the IOR has never been officially told. You begin noticing things after your third month. Certain accounts move money in patterns that match no diocesan activity, no charitable operation, no mission funding. Funds arrive from shell structures registered in jurisdictions you recognize from your courier briefings. The amounts are significant, the documentation is immaculate, and nobody asks questions. You file an internal note flagging the irregularity. It disappears, not rejected, not acknowledged, just gone, as if you never wrote it. You have two choices: push harder and lose everything you've built here, or decide that you misunderstood what you were looking at. You file it away. God's bank has no auditors that God didn't approve first. Level 6. The operator. A meeting is arranged. No calendar invite, no paper trail. You are in a nunciature in a European capital, one of those elegant diplomatic residences that appears to be nothing more than an embassy for a very small country. A man is already seated when you arrive. He does not work for the church. His organization is one of the most powerful intelligence services in the Western world. The meeting is not happening officially. He is calm, professional. He has a list. He wants access to a bishop's private communications in a country where his agency cannot legally operate. He wants confirmation of a senior government official's religious affiliations and which cardinal holds his confession. He wants advance notice, weeks, ideally, if a particular vote in the College of Cardinals is shifting. You are the Vatican's answer to his list. This kind of cooperation is not without historical precedent. Vatican and Western intelligence coordination during the Cold War, particularly around anti-communist operations in Latin America and Eastern Europe, is documented by serious historians. The relationship between the Holy See and Washington during the 1980s, particularly regarding Soviet influence in Poland, has been reported on extensively. These were not rogue operations. They were institutional decisions. You sit across from this man and you understand something for the first time. The Vatican doesn't trade in money. Not primarily. It trades in information. And it is extraordinarily disciplined about the exchange rate. No money changes hands today. No document is signed. What is exchanged is access, the most valuable currency in the world and the one that leaves the fewest traces. The most powerful intelligence transaction in the world is a quiet conversation between two men who don't officially exist. Level 7. The Shadow. You are introduced to a different kind of network. The members you meet don't wear clerical clothing. They wear suits. They are executives, academics, judges, ministers. They gather for dinner in private rooms in Rome, Madrid, Buenos Aires, Washington. They speak to each other with a familiarity that comes from shared loyalty, not to the Vatican's official hierarchy, but to something that runs alongside it. Opus Dei is a real, officially recognized body within the Catholic Church, founded in 1928 by José María Escrivá. It was formally recognized as a personal prelature by Pope John Paul II in 1982. Its internal structure is layered: numeraries who live in community, associates who maintain its mission from outside, supernumeraries embedded in professional life, cooperators who support its work, concentric rings of commitment and access. Its influence in political, academic, and financial circles across Spain, Latin America, and the United States is extensively documented. What you now understand is that this is a parallel architecture. It operates inside the church but reports through a different chain. Its members hold positions in governments, financial institutions, and media organizations across 3 continents. They coordinate, they place, they advance each other's interests through channels that never appear in any official record. The Vatican has a public structure: cardinals, bishops, nuncios, secretaries. That structure is real. It functions. But there is a map inside the map. And the people on it don't need titles to have power. You thought you had reached the inner circle. The Vatican has an official map. Then it has the real one. Level 8. The Keeper. Years have passed. You don't mark them the way you once did. A document arrives. You have been recommended for an advisory role attached to a curial office with direct access to the papal household. No job description accompanies the recommendation. You understand by now that this is intentional. The prefecture of the papal household controls physical access to the Pope, who enters, who waits, who is granted an audience, and for how long. The men closest to that function hold a form of power that no title can fully capture. They are the filters. They decide what rises and what disappears. Your function is simpler and more total than any title suggests. You are the institutional memory. You know where every agreement is archived, every exchange is logged in your mind, which government asked for what, which cardinal provided it, which silence was purchased, and at what price. You know which files were closed and why. You know which names were removed from documents and whose hands removed them. You are not powerful because of your position. You are powerful because of what you know, and because the right people trust you to never use it carelessly. Something that once felt like faith has become something else. It has no name exactly. It is quieter than faith. It is colder. It is more permanent. You no longer work for the church. The church works around you. Ending. There is a new attaché in the courtyard today. You watch him from the window above, young, serious, impeccably dressed for someone who doesn't need to be. He speaks 4 languages. You heard this mentioned, the way it always gets mentioned. He was quietly recommended by a cardinal with significant connections. He carries himself with the particular confidence of someone who believes they have just been chosen for something meaningful. He has no idea. You watch him cross the same courtyard you crossed years ago. He is carrying nothing but his credentials and something that looks, from here, very much like faith. He has already been handed the second phone. You don't go down to introduce yourself. The system doesn't work that way. You turn back to the document on your desk. No file number, no date, no official record that it exists, and neither, in any way that matters, do you.